Perhaps you've all heard of that mystical joker, Mulla Nasruddin. Mulla Nasruddin's picture can be found in many of the bazaars of the Middle East, his turban askew, riding his donkey. But Mulla Nasruddin was a man of many talents. But he had the inspiration that he wanted to become a physician, a doctor. So he sought out the most well-known doctor in the land to become his apprentice. So when he presented himself to the doctor said, "Yes, you can come with me when I visit my patients and just follow what I do." So the doctor and Mulla Nasruddin set out for the first of his house calls. And when they knocked on the door, a woman answered the door and said, "I'm doctor, I'm so glad to see you. I'm so worried about my husband, he keeps falling over." So the doctor and Mulla Nasruddin went in, and there was the man lying on his bed. So the doctor examined him, and then the doctor bent down and looked under the bed. And then he stood up and he said to the man, "You have to give up all forms of alcohol. No more drinking." Well, while the doctor was giving out this prescription, Mulla Nasruddin bent down and looked under the bed himself. And there he saw gin bottles, beer cans, and the like. So they left and they went to the second house, and they knocked on the door. And the door was answered by a very large woman. So the doctor went in and ordered her to lay down on the bed, and he began to examine her. And as he'd done before, he bent down and looked under the bed. And then he stood up and he said, "You have to give up sweets. No more sugar for you." And in the meanwhile, Mulla Nasruddin bent down and looked under, and there he saw all these lolly papers, sweet. So they left that house, and they were going to the third house, when the doctor said to Mulla Nasruddin, "Well, now it's your turn. You have to make the diagnosis." So they went and knocked on the door of the house, and it took some while for the door to be answered. But when the door was finally answered, it was a very nervous and agitated young woman. And when she answered the door, the doctor said to her, "Well, your husband has asked me to come and examine you because he's very worried about you. You always have a headache." So they went in, and she had to lie down on the bed, and Mulla Nasruddin did exactly what the doctor had done, and he bent down and he looked under the bed. And when he stood up, he said to the young woman, "You have to give up milk. No more dairy products for you." So the doctor and Mulla Nasruddin left the house. And outside the door, the doctor turned to Mulla Nasruddin and he said, "Well, how did you come to that diagnosis?" And Mulla Nasruddin said, "Well, I did exactly what you showed me to do. And when I looked under the bed, there was the milkman." There was a young man by the name of Quasim. But Quasim was known throughout the land, but not in any famous way. He was quite infamous, because he was known as the laziest person in all the land. He was known far and wide as being a ne'er-do-well lazybones. His dear old widowed mother had to go out and work in the fields every day to put food on their table while Quasim slept. He slept till noon. He got up and had something that his mother had prepared for him, and then he'd lay down to sleep again. But his mother was getting old, and very often she would say to Quasim, "Quasim, as it's your duty to take care of your old mother, please go out and find some work. I'm getting old. I can't take care of you forever." And Quasim would always reply, "But what's the use of my going out? I'll never be successful in any way because my luck is asleep." His mother begged him and harangued him from time to time, but he always gave the same answer. "But what can I do, mother? My luck has gone to sleep." So, in desperation, his mother went to the imam and asked the imam to speak to her son. So the imam came to the house and he scolded Quasim, and he told him this is his duty. As the only son, he should go out and take care of his mother's welfare. And of course Quasim answered in exactly the same way. What's the use of my doing anything? My luck is asleep. So the imam got very impatient and he left. He could do no more about this. So the mother was in a very sad state about this, but she did hear of a very old and wise woman who lived outside their village. So she went to her and she told her of her plight. And the old woman said, "Yes, I've had a situation like this before. Just leave it to me. Wait, I'll speak to him at the appropriate time." So one day, when the mother was out at work and the old woman knew that Quasim would be awake having his afternoon repast, she went to the house, but she didn't scold him. She didn't really talk to him at all. She asked him how things were, and they spoke about things that were going on in the village and so forth and etc. And then she asked him why had he not the urge, why had he not the heart to go out and be like other young men, have a woman and seek to have a family and so forth. And of course Quasim answered in the same way. He said, "Well, what can I do? My luck is asleep." And she said, "Well, I knew a young man in your situation, and he went out and looked for his luck to wake it up." "Oh," said Quasim, "I never thought about doing that. I'm going to do it. I'm going to go out and find my luck and wake it up." So when his mother came back from her hard day's work, he told his mother, "Tomorrow I'm going out to find my luck and I'm going to wake it up." Well, his mother was overjoyed about this, so she prepared a little flask of water and some bread and cheese for him, and the very next morning Quasim set out to look for his luck. He didn't know where he was going, but he just took the road. And the day passed, and he got very hungry and thirsty, so he'd by this time entered somewhat of a little forest. So he sat down under a big tree and he ate some of the bread and cheese and drank some of the water from his flask, and he was just kind of nodding off after the trekking that he'd done when he heard a great roar. And out of the trees came bounding a lion. Well, Quasim was shaking in his boots. He thought, just when I've come out to find my luck, see, I'm going to be eaten up by a lion, and it's finished. But the lion stopped in front of Quasim and spoke to him. He said, where are you going? And Quasim said, well, I'm going to find my luck and wake him up. Oh, said the lion, well then, I won't eat you, but will you do something for me? He said, my brain has gone quite mushy. And you know, as the lion, the king of the forest, one has to have the faculties about them. Would you ask your luck what I can do about my mushy brain? Oh, said Quasim, yes, I'll do that. I'll do that. So the next morning, Quasim got up and he went on his travels again. And at midday, when the sun was very high and very hot, he sat down to rest under a great oak tree. And as he was resting there, the oak tree spoke to him and said, young man, where are you going? And Quasim answered, I'm going to find my luck to wake him up. Oh, what an illustrious quest! I wish you all the luck and success. So Quasim went on his way. And after a couple of days' travel, he was again in a very dense and vast forest, when all of a sudden, in front of him, a clearing opened up. And he saw what appeared to be a magnificent palace. And as he looked up on the balcony of the palace, there were two beautiful maidens. They waved to him, one black and one white. They waved to him, said, come in, come, spend some time with us. So the gates opened and servants came out and led Quasim in. He was feasted and given something to eat. And the young women said to him, well, where are you going? He said, well, I'm going to find my luck and wake him up. Oh, said they, what a wonderful quest. We wish you all the very best. And so Quasim went on his way. But then he came to a stream, and the stream was bubbling along. And as he was drinking from the stream, because his flask was now long empty, the stream spoke to him, asked him the question, where are you going? And of course he answered in the same way. The stream bubbling said, oh, I wish you great success. So Quasim crossed the stream, and as he travelled, he came into an area that was almost like a desert, a vast plain, nothing, no trees. And then, in the distance, he spotted one spindly little tree. So he headed forward, thinking that there might be a little bit of shade, when, as he grew closer, he saw that there was someone sitting under the tree. And when he neared the tree, he found that it was this funny little man. And that funny little man was kind of sleeping. But as Quasim approached, he woke up. And Quasim said, who are you, and what are you doing in this vast, this desert, barren plain? And the funny little man said, oh, I'm your luck, and I've been waiting for you. Quasim couldn't believe that at last he'd found what he'd been seeking, his luck. And his luck was waking up. So his luck said, well, you must be very thirsty and very hungry. Come, let me provide a meal for you. And luck did. And Quasim was aghast, agog. What's going to happen now? And of course his luck recognized what was going on with him, and he said, yes, said his luck, I'm coming with you. He said, you just go back the way you've come, and I'll be behind you. I'll follow you. Quasim was overjoyed. But then his luck said to him, now, but you know, I'm going to test you 3 times. And if you don't pass these tests, I'm going to leave you forever. Yes, Quasim, whatever, said Quasim. Yes. So he set out on the path from which he'd come. And every now and again he'd look behind himself to see that his luck was following. And sure enough, his luck was there. So, as he retraced his steps, he came to the stream. And the stream said to him, were you successful? Yes, said Quasim, my luck is with me. Well, the stream said, you know, if you follow me just a little way down from where you are now, if you turn around a bend, you'll find that there's a little rocky crevice, and if you look inside that crevice, you'll find a treasure. Oh, said Quasim, I can't do that. I'm on my way home now with my luck, because when I get back, I'm going to make my fortune. So they went on their way, and Quasim was looking behind to see that his luck was behind him all the time, and he still was. But then they came to the great oak tree. And the oak tree said, well, did you find your luck? Yes, said Quasim, he's here. The oak tree said, well, you know, if you look behind me, you'll find that there's a spade. And if you dig under my roots, you'll find gold, treasure. No, Quasim said, I haven't got time for that. I've got my luck with me. I'm going home so I can make my fortune. So they went on further, and this time they came to the palace. And there were the 2 beautiful maidens. They called him in again. They called out, come, our father the king has just died, and you can marry us both and have the whole kingdom. Oh no, said Quasim, I'm on my way home to make my fortune. Well, of course, they walked a few steps, and Quasim looked back, and the palace had disappeared. But his luck approached him and said, 3 times I tested you, and 3 times you failed. Now I'm leaving you forever. Quasim was broken-hearted. He fell down on his knees, weeping. What had he done? So all Quasim could do was to make his way back to his home. But there, in the same clearing, as he sat down weeping in great dejection, the lion appeared and said to him, well, were you successful? And Quasim cried, I found my luck, but now he's left me forever. But, said the lion, did you ask him about me? Quasim said, yes, I did. Well, what did he say? Said the lion. Well, my luck told me that you should eat the greatest fool that you'd ever met. Oh, said the lion. Well, I know that your luck has left you because of your arrogance. Yes, said Quasim, I realize that now. But it's too late. Well, said the lion, in fact, I don't have a mushy brain. But I'm going to give you a piece of advice. And he gave him the advice. Quasim made his way back to his house. His mother greeted him and welcomed him back. But Quasim hardly had any time to waste. He hurried into town and went to a merchant and asked him, please, will you give me a job? And the merchant did. And so Quasim began to work. And he soon became known as a diligent young man. He made enough money to take care of his mother. And indeed, as the years went on, he found a lovely maiden to marry. The merchant didn't have a son, so when he passed on the shop to him. And so he lived a very good life. But the question is left with you. What did the lion say to Quasim? What was the advice that this lion gave to him? I leave you with this. For whatever it's worth. Recognizing that every element of every story is an aspect of our psyche. What did the lion say to Quasim?